Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the Wednesday's regional news. We begin with news from Jamaica. Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness on Tuesday declared a state of public emergency in parts of the capital, Kingston, and in some central and western parishes in an attempt to control rising crime linked to gang violence. States of emergency give authorities increased powers, including the ability to search buildings and carry out arrests without warrants. These measures apply to areas that include popular tourist destinations such as Montego Bay. Holness, during his address, said that the country has seen an increase in criminal activities in several areas and a threat to property and, in some instances, public disorder. Holness predicted an increase in murders over the next several weeks with the onset of the holiday season when violent crime typically spikes. Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson Thursday said 1,360 murders were registered in Jamaica between January 1 and November 13, an increase of 6.8% over the same period in 2021. Gang violence was the reason for 71% of those murders, he said. Rights groups have challenged detentions carried out during states of emergency. Jamaica, which has one of the region's highest homicide rates, is seeking to crack down on gangs through laws that targeted organized crime and illegal guns. Turning our attention now to Guatemala. A well-known anti-corruption judge in Guatemala resigned on Tuesday after accusing the judiciary of mismanagement, the latest in a string of resignations that critics blame on President Alejandro Gayamti's efforts to consolidate power. Miguel Angel Galvez, a judge with 24 years on the bench, focused largely on corruption, organized crime, and civil war cases, blasted what he described as a lack of judicial independence in a video posted on his Twitter account. The judiciary is manipulated, he said, and it no longer guarantees due process rights. Since May, Galvez has faced accusations from the Foundation Against Terrorism, an organization composed of retired military officers, that he has abused his authority. The case is currently before the Supreme Court, which last month ordered the investigating judge to refrain from considering any more defense arguments from Galvez. Galvez's resignation comes as a growing number of Guatemala's anti-corruption judges and prosecutors have been jailed or forced into exile during his term, which has drawn pointed rebukes from the United States among a growing chorus of critics. And finally, news coming out of Cuba. Cuba and the United States are making progress in talks aimed at curbing a migration crisis that saw a record number of Cubans arrive at the U.S. border last year, but those advances are not enough to stem the tide, Cuba's top diplomat in the talks said on Tuesday. Deputy Foreign Minister Carlos Fernandez told reporters that despite steps in the right direction, the United States had yet to address the root of the problem. The U.S. State Department said the talks provide an opportunity for discussions on mutual implementation of migration accords signed between the two countries. Fernandez said one key obstacle was the U.S. Cold War era embargo, a web of U.S. laws and regulations that complicate business and financial transactions with Cuba. Talks between the two countries resumed in April, the first such conversations on migration in 4 years, after a long hiatus under former President Donald Trump. By September, the administration of Joe Biden had announced it would restaff the embassy and restart full immigration visa processing in Havana in early 2023, a move both sides said marked a major step forward in negotiations. Trump in 2017 slashed personnel in Havana following health incidents that affected employees at the US and Canadian embassies, forcing Cubans to eventually fly to Guyana to apply for immigration visas. Few Cubans have the means to pay for such trips, leaving some to seek irregular routes and contributing to the current exodus. The communist-run government agreed for the first time since the pandemic to accept U.S. deportation flights carrying Cubans caught at the U.S.-Mexico border as another stipulation of the migration accords. That's all for tonight's edition of the Regional News. I'm Joel Vogt, back to you, Alethea.